I wore my Star Trek shirt for y'all. Consumer technology. Took a while to get dressed up for everybody. But look, I want to thank you for having me here. I got to hear a lot of Dr. Fox's remarks, and a surprising amount of what you're talking about today is truly bipartisan. Not that we're without our challenges on both sides of the aisle, but I think we can all agree that America's economic growth rests on continued innovation across all economic sectors, and we need to figure out how to make work for families. And our education system needs to do a better job fostering entrepreneurial spirits and innovation within younger generations. It seems like these days in the fast evolving workplace, the only constant is change. And people of all ages need to be equipped with the skills to be able to adapt to those ongoing workforce changes that we can scarcely contemplate today. One way we can help prepare people for the jobs of the future is to build better partnerships between the private sector and our school systems, both on the K-12 side and the school districts, as well as community colleges and universities. These kinds of partnerships can help align the focus of schools and community colleges with the actual evolving needs of the workforce. One great example are P-Tech high schools that partner with private sector employers across the country. There's one near my district in St. Vrain and Longmont, Colorado. Another example is dual and concurrent enrollment, where kids, while they're enrolled in high school, can get the skills necessary, usually in partnership with community college, to have a good job right out of college or even an associate's degree. We also need to help find ways to lower the cost of higher education to improve the pipeline of diversity for the fast-growing technology sector and make sure that in technology we have students of all backgrounds with the skills they need for today's and tomorrow's jobs. There are a number of ways that that's occurring today. One example are coding boot camps, which can deliver an accelerated program in only a few months. In Colorado, there's a number of boot camps like Turing School and Galvanize that offer programs where students can learn skills that directly relate to employment. They graduate with a good paying job, fill a workforce need, and one of the areas of our policy focus is to make some of these programs eligible for the same kinds of federal college affordability programs like Pell Grants and federally backed student loans that we take for granted for our four-year universities. We're also working on ways to promote innovation in higher education and job training, including competency-based education, where students advance to their degree based on what they know instead of the hours they spend sitting in a chair. It's a great option for non-traditional students and adults going back to school to learn new skills, and will foster innovation rather than stagnation in pedagogy and the delivery of curriculum. I also want to touch on immigration before I open it up for questions. Immigration is essential to our country's viability, growth, entrepreneurship, the technology sector. For every high-skilled immigrant we've had, 3.5 additional jobs were created over 14 years. But our broken immigration system is leaving many skilled and talented people that could deploy their skills here unable to, and therefore deploying their skills overseas. Good for those countries, growing their tech sector, not good for us. Fixing our immigration system so we can attract the best and the brightest and hardest working people from across the world to drive our economy is absolutely critical. At the same time, we work to ensure that the U.S. workforce develops skills to meet the changing needs of the workforce. We need to grow our own best and brightest and hardest working, and we need to import the best and brightest and hardest working from around the world who want to come here to deploy their skills to make our country even greater if we want to succeed in the 21st century. With that, I'd be happy to open it up to questions. I can't see very well. There's a light in my eye, but I understand there's a microphone there.
Jim Berger, representing FIRST, the K-12 Student Engagement Program. First, I want to thank you and your colleagues for funding in a bipartisan way the after-school science competitions in the Every Student Succeeds Act. And I'm biased. I think they're really important, but I'd love to hear your views on STEM engagement after-school programs.
Yeah, extended day is a great track record at all age levels. It's one of those things that's simply a financial challenge. We need to improve what we can during the school day. Certainly in the building programs after school, boys and girls clubs. There's a wide variety of programs that can serve kids effectively after school. And that's one of the reforms we look at when we look at how we can improve and turn around poorly performing schools. We look at extending the learning day, and we look at after-school programs. Like so many things, the quality of the pedagogy, of course, is one variable. It's very important, but time on task is another. By improving both the quality and the quantity, we can help kids achieve better educational outcomes.
Thank you, Kinsey. My name is Gary Shapiro Kinsey. I thought you'd know that by now. Congressman, you are a successful technology entrepreneur. It's no secret. It's in your bio. How do we get more people like you in America in the future?
Well, one way is immigration. A disproportionate number of founders were born in other countries. I don't happen to have been. I was born right in my district in Boulder, Colorado. But certainly one way to get more entrepreneurs is to import people with great ideas to deploy their talents here. There's currently a number of barriers to doing that. That's why we've championed startup visas and other immigration categories that would allow founders to form their companies here. The other way is by encouraging and developing the entrepreneurial skill set in our schools, both the K-12 schools as well as colleges. Frankly, I've been pleased with the development at many universities across the country, some through their business schools, some through their undergraduate programs, some through their law schools, where they've truly created more robust startup programs than existed 10 or 20 years ago, usually, and I've had the opportunity to judge business plans in a number of those and been able to see a lot of the products that have been coming out of them in terms of aligning them with capital resources in the community like angel investment networks. However, we haven't changed much on the K-12 side, and we need to do a better job making sure that kids in our high schools and beyond learn the skill sets they need to transform an idea into reality through entrepreneurship.
Good morning. I'm Diana Parr. I work for Congressman Ted Lieu, and I'm a legislative fellow. So first of all, let me say I love your outfit. Thank you for wearing Star Trek. Sure. But secondly, one of my personal passions is getting more women into the technology field, cybersecurity specifically. I have my own thoughts on it, but I wanted to hear what your thoughts might be on that.
Well, it starts early, and not that we can't do a better job at our institutions of higher education, but many students already arrive with something of a plan and something of a skill set. So it starts early. It starts with having women role models in our elementary and middle schools, encouraging parity in advanced courses, advanced math and computer science at our high schools. The foremost work in this area is actually done by a nonprofit associated with the University of Colorado that happens to be based in my district called the National Council for Women in Technology. I would encourage you to check out their website. They use a data-driven methodology to look at what actually works in helping achieve gender parity in the earlier years in particular, which carries across through higher education. National Council for Women in Technology, NCWIT is what we call it, and they do great work. So there's a lot of great programs with proven success. They're not centralized. Many of them are community-driven and nonprofits and partnerships with school districts, but that's the good news, and the bad news is it hasn't been made universal yet.
Hi, good morning. My name is Lara Clark. I work with the American Library Association, and when we think about partnerships, libraries often come to our mind. We were meeting with members of the SBA yesterday, and I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the role that you see for public libraries working both with schools and with corporations and with community colleges, and the way that libraries can advance some of these issues that we're talking about.
You know, at least in my state, libraries can be very nimble because they're usually special districts of their own with complete autonomy and taxation authority. So they're very nimble. They can be terrific partners. When they're run by cities, you know, I don't know, you have to, I guess, talk to mayors and so forth, but certainly where they're autonomous self-funded units, the sky's the limit. And I've seen terrific partnerships between some of our library districts and school districts. They don't always overlap. It makes it complicated jurisdictionally, but where there's a will, there's a way. Operationally, there's a lot of synergy, and it's very exciting. They just have to figure out the jurisdictional aspects for after-school programs, for media education, new media education, a lot of great opportunities with our libraries. Can't hear you.
One of these things, yeah. I'm sorry. Thank you. Better? Okay.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Stokel. I work for EDC, which is a nonprofit based in Boston. We have private sector funding to develop a lot of workforce education programs for the digital economy. And we also have, thank you, federal funding to develop education frameworks for what students will need to participate in the digital economy. And I'm interested in what you think about what are the skill sets or knowledge that young people and reskilled middle-aged people need in order to be really effective, creative, innovative in roles where technology and humans are combined.
Well, you know, again, I touched upon in my opening remarks, the only constant is change, and it's hard to predict what those needs will be in 10 years, in 20 years, in 30 years, which is why, first and foremost, young people need to be equipped with the critical thinking, the ability to learn new tasks, the desire to learn new tasks. Fits into what we know, of course, of the expectations regarding work of many millennials in terms of expecting to change jobs and careers several times, which likely reflects their sound observations of current trends. So, you know, again, there's not one skill set that needs to be taught, because I think what the truth is we simply don't know what platform or what skill set will be needed in 10 years and 20 years. But what's needed is people of all ages, and particularly young people, need to really integrate the dynamism, critical thinking, learning skills that can translate well into whatever it is that they'll need to do in the human-machine operating front in the future. Great, thank you all.